Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. We're gonna do my initial thoughts for Cerise. Cerise, how you call it, Cerise? Again, going with this kind of series that I'm doing, following after the Korean stream, and basically doing these on Wednesday nights on maintenance days. Cerise looks promising, but I have to say though, I am not super convinced she's extremely OP. I'm gonna go ahead and talk like I usually do about this, but right now in my mind I'm kind of going back and forth. I feel that overall she has a really good stats for what she needs to do, which is to get off her S3 in my opinion. I feel her S2 and S1 are slightly lackluster. Again, at this point of this recording, we do not have the data mines in terms of the damage. But you know, you wouldn't even really be super hopeful. If it has high damage mods, it could compensate for her low base attack, as you see on screen there. 970, it is very low. 5,299 health, decent. Rangers are generally pretty beefy. I am really impressed with her defense though. 603 defense is no joke, especially for such a speedy unit. So all in all, she should be easily to like build in terms of like tankiness. But here's the kicker: she has a 27 crit chance innate as well. So if, depending on the damage mods, again, if you're gonna build as a damage dealer, you do have 27 there. 27 is very high, very nice to have. The imprint release, I feel, is a really big hot sell for her. Even the imprint concentration, I think, depending on the fight, but imprint release has a 14% crit chance. I think there's a ton of limited heroes right now with the 14 crit chance. Well, actually no, I'll take that back. I think only one, which is Luna. But I wouldn't have suggested anybody whale for Luna to get the crit chance, although she can get more attack for herself imprint concentration. In terms of Cerise though, if you're a whale and she's like sort of looking like a supporting hero, this might be okay to pull a couple of her just for the crit chance. Her artifact, I'm going to talk at the end of the video. I would say that compared to her, my thoughts on her right now compared to the artifact, I feel like the artifact has more interest for me. I know I say that a lot for limited artifacts, but for example, like Torn Sleeve and Dizzy's like Necro and Undine, like they're all like pretty good, but in like real situations they may not always be the best, depending. I'm talking about PvP specifically. I still see this game as heavily PvP, so almost everything I look through is filtered through a PvP lens, and then potentially you say that, oh, this hero could be good for PvE as well. But the effectiveness is important. Self concentration there, 27%. She does need the effectiveness for almost all her skills, S2 and S3. And let's talk about that right now. But no effectiveness innate. So yeah, I'll talk about her build and what I think she should be built as. I think she's very straightforward. No real meme builds I can think of based on the reading here. But here we go. This is the S3. So this is Frost Storm. Attacks all enemies with Raging Frost Storm and then decreasing buff durations by 1 turn. So there is a difference between this versus something like saying like dispelling. Obviously this would still mean that you would remove the immunity buffs, which I will show in the next slide. You will remove the immunity buff when you do an S3 because it is 1 turn. Now the only thing that's different about this versus like a D-spell is that the D-spell, if the fight lasts longer than the first turn and you get her cooldown back, then her quote-unquote strip might not be as good, because at that point maybe you have a 3-turn immunity buffer, maybe you have a 2-turn immunity buffer, and it's time where, you know, you would want to strip it but you can't. So it's a first turn, it's a kind of like a first turn gimmick most likely, and on obviously on some turns reducing the buff duration can be useful, you know, like a defense buff or an attack buff reducing that will be useful, but it's not a D-spell. And I think there's a reason why, because everything else coming after this is pretty good. It's pretty broken, but it's pretty good. 75% chance, but if you molar this, it's 100%. Okay, so 100% chance to each to restrict. So that's a new debuff. Restrict and then decrease speed for 2 turns. The restrict is that they can no longer receive combat readiness increase effects provided by other than that provided by their speed stat. I don't know what specifically that means, but any sort of CR push will no longer actually work if you get the restrict debuff. So if you actually look at this clip here, this is of course, you know, in the video as well, so if you haven't checked that out, definitely check this out. But I am doing this for just a discussion point. In this video, Cerise did her S3 and then stripped the immunity on the heroes that you see on the left side, causing that debuff. So the debuff, that hourglass, is the restrict debuff, and you see that the speed debuff is landed on Vildred there. So in the video following though, Oxlots gets a turn and then he can't push anybody up. So basically that's the example. Now this is not, in my opinion, like compared to a first turn debuffer, other than the fact that she has higher base speed than someone like Basar, this debuff is not as like crippling as something like Earth Basar's S3, which is just, it just goes to show you like how crazy strong Earth Basar is really. I mean, they're both not ML, so they have elemental weaknesses, so there's possible chance that they can miss both of them. But Basar has CR pushback, 30% and unbuffable, and he's a mage, so he'll put on crippling debuffing artifacts. Sierra ran Abyssal Crown. She doesn't have that effectiveness. And then the other thing is, so I don't think you would really run a Cerise in a defense team in any sort of format I can think of. In Arena, she would have a problem because you could bring something like DJ Basar, which then cleanses all the debuffs and then puts immunity on anyways, and then CR boost anyway. So it's not like a CR pushback that Cerise does. And in the Guild War defense, we'll have to see. Again, her damage mods is, I think, what's going to be the difference. If her damage mod is good, potentially we might see her on a defense team in GVG, but it has to be paired with like really insane damage threats. So like Arby and Charles. So you're basically using Cerise to counter, you're forcing them to bring in bruisers instead of a speed hero. That's basically it, or any CR boosting hero. So possibly run on a GVG defense, and in an arena defense, I mean the same thing goes for that, but I just feel like in arena defense, when it's 4-man, you see the Lilius on the left side there. That Lilius would cleanse it once she gets a turn. So like the follow-up with Cerise has to be like really darn good. Like either use Cerise to, I don't know, restrict their CR push, or you accompany that with like a Basar or something, someone to actually cripple them and push them back. But anyways, you'd be able to cleanse it. I'm not saying this stuff to make Cerise look bad, but I'm just saying that she might not be as OP as people think. Although just given the fact that, again, she has high base speed, is already a really good benefit for this S3. It is a 4-turn cooldown because the Mola at +3 is -1, so 5 turn to 4. That's my thoughts on the S3 there. And then on S2, it requires 2 souls, 4-turn cooldown, -1 at the +3, 3-turn cooldown. 20 souls ignores the effect resistance. I like that aspect of this. This though is a single target CR manipulation. So if you read the description, explodes with a magical sphere, stunning for 1 turn before decreasing combat range by 30%. That's great. Increasing the combat readiness of the caster by 50%. I think some people are saying that using Sword of Judgment on this might be good, because she could potentially follow up using this and then getting another turn and then doing the S1. Could be in terms of the combat readiness pushback and then the gain by the caster itself, this is absolutely like, this is good. this is really good. The only thing is that, again, it's a single target, so it might be useful. Again, she would strip the immunity, and unless they get the immunity buff up like really quick, and with her fast speed, you might be able to start doing some interesting manipulation. The stun is 100%, so you do need effectiveness on her, right? There's no proc rate on the stun itself, so you do want to get effectiveness. You don't want to roll that chance of not landing it. And of course, every single debuff here, including the combat readiness decrease, does require your effectiveness to run through the resistance check. I've had so many arena fights where, like, you know, green Basars are not on immunity. I use my Assassin Sid, try to push them back. I can't even count how many number of times that they resisted my pushback, and let alone silence, so it just screws me up. So you really want that effectiveness on her. And the fact that she has a self-imprint with a 27, it might go for her. If you're not going to use her artifact, you could definitely use something like Oath Key, since you really do want that first turn. But following with this S2 in mind, you would definitely want her to have some like decent effectiveness, over 50 at least, to start playing around with, especially the lower end damage dealers. In terms of like CR manipulation, I think like Ice Roman, outside that she can stun on this skill as well though, of course, Ice Roman does like a way better job, able to push himself and able to push people back. Ice Roman, man, if we had Mola or some way to build it, I really want to put Ice Roman to the test. I really think he's got what it takes to be good, but I don't think anybody really wants to invest in him, especially when Basar is available. Feels bad, man. Yeah, so that's my thoughts for the S2. And in the S1 here, if you Mola this to +4, you get a 15%, up to a 15% combat readiness increase every time she does this. So some people are saying Rosa as well. Rosa to get the dual attack. That might be interesting. I mean, with her fast speed and your turn cycling with like all these CR manipulation, she might get a turn quick. What I do find interesting is that her skill enhancement here for the raw damage is very high. So again, the raw damage itself will not dictate how much damage mods you get. Like for example, like the S3 is only 20% raw damage. That doesn't let you know whether the mods would be good or not, but just saying that even if you had decently low mods, but you had like really good raw damage in Molagora, there's definitely some promise. But again, the fact is I'm not sold. Even if her mods are insanely high, her attack is low, and she's gonna be looking for too many stats, I think. So I'm not quite sure anyone should be Molagoring the damage, but we'll see. We've been wrong about that before. SSB, I think back when SSB was released, people were saying that, oh, she's weak or whatever, she only debuffs. But now look at her, right? Look at her now. So we cannot say that too lightly here. Yeah, so I feel like the S1, I mean, it's good. Vivian, I think, has the same amount of CR push for herself. I think it was 15. And I think the Mola is about the same too. But for an S1, that's not bad. If it's not bringing debuffs and it's not really high damage, it may as well be a CR push. So that's not too terrible there. Oh, Vivian is 20% with crit. Oh, I see. She has the crit to do it. Okay. And then Vivian does high damage though. That's the thing. But yeah, we're talking about different class, different rules. This is the limited artifact coming. Now, I feel that this artifact interested me more. Now, the proc rate on this, at a max, you could read there, is 70%. So 70% chance to grant stealth for 2 turns at the end of the caster's turn. It can only be activated once every 2 turns. The proc rate is actually not terrible. I think based on my calculation, if I'm not wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you get 1 copy, you plus 15 this, you have a 50% chance of this happening. I think people, bank on RNG, like for example, aka Alexa's Basket, with a 40% at plus 30. And people, you see that RNG. Sometimes it's there. If you could get this to max, 70% is it. I would call it guaranteed. It's kind of, I feel like it's like an Isle of Violin thing. Like Isle of Island doesn't have a 100% proc rate, but honestly, I feel like every time Isle of Island hits me, all my buffs are gone, you know? Like, it just always happens. There is a big brain play. I do want to give a shout out to Melanie. So if you guys haven't checked out Melanie's account review, I already said give him a background story, so definitely check that out. But he's big brain. He's saying that he wants to try using this on Assyria. Now, it escaped my notice before, but I totally forgot she gets 2 turns. So more than likely, she might be able to be in stealth after her first turn, right? So in terms of like her first, not counting her S2 giving her another turn, her first turn on the CR timeline, right? That might be very cool because it's still 2-turn buff. So even after it procced on the S2, for example, and you went to the S3, you still have 1 turn after that, right? 2 turn, yeah, you still have 1 turn after that. So it's pretty big brain. It's a very interesting way of using this artifact. I do feel though that outside of those like theory crafted ones that I talked about, Rosa, perhaps Cursed Compass, maybe even Oath Key, because you might run into people running Moonlight Dreamblade, and then what is it, Sword of Judgment. I feel like there's not many artifacts that she's gonna be maining, but perhaps lock to an artifact if you build her for only specific purpose. I think an RTA she might be decent, but very, very counter pick. I don't think you should be picking her as a go-to. It makes no sense. A counter pick, she might be solid if you're forcing them to like use Oxlots to their advantage, right? If you see like Oxlots and he's loading up all these like damage dealers, and you're guessing that they're not going to be too fast, you just keep all of them in, and then just bring in Oxlots, or let them have Oxlots. So I think an RTA very counter pick. I don't think none of her skills following S2 and then S1 would really benefit from RTA too much. If she was a mage, I would say she's broken, because she could use a Tika Scepter, she could use Abyssal Crown. A ton of mage artifacts would make her really good, but it's kind of good that they limit her to a ranger, in my opinion. She also gets countered hard by Bazaar. Oh, I think were you talking about her? I think Cerise is gonna be countered by a lot of people, and that is the reason why I did mention that that she, if use an RTA, she has to be like very, very last counter pick. There's just way too many ways to kind of bypass her, where she really shines, which I feel is the S3. If she has this artifact on, she can survive, because her S3, did I even talk about this? Yeah, I think I did. It grants the caster invincibility for 1 turn. So like overall, I think her kit is like very packed, but like almost all into the S3. Like everything's in the S3 right here. So like I'm comparing only to compare limited heroes. In terms of SSB is like packed with everything. Her S2, like that entire S2, I mean, if you read the entire description, you know that's like an essay. It's very long. It's very packed. Her S1 is very good too, with everything else she has, plus the S3. I mean, and Rengar especially Drake. So I mean, I feel if you're comparing the OP-ness, and even Dizzy, okay, if we're comparing like the ice limited heroes that have come down the line, the newer ones, those two are a lot more like cancerous. Like, I mean, you can counter everything. All right, that should not be a standard someone hopes to go for. Like, should I pull for Cerise? She could be countered by this. I do often hear that on like streams, like, do you think this hero is good? They could be countered by this. I'm like, well, there's no uncountable hero, all right? There's no such thing. But the only thing is that I feel that with her being a limited hero, I feel it's a bit of a stretch. I know that there have been some people excited that she's a limited hero. I'm personally kind of confused why she's a limited hero. Sorry, this is a bit of a rant. Okay, sorry. So my thoughts on her is pretty much done. I'm gonna end my closing thoughts on just overall how I feel about Cerise. I know I'm pretty pessimistic in terms of heroes. I often try to take the more, what do you call it, conservative approach. Especially I have been let down before in terms of how OP a hero can be. In terms of her though, I do feel that I've gotten a grasp on where she can shine and then where she can't. And I feel that the places of where she can't, as in like you won't use her to counter a lot of stuff, because like there's a lot of defense teams. I'm talking about arena right now, and even in GVG, if you see a CR boosting defense team, generally they either you could bring Cerise in, sure, or generally they can counter. So like DJ Bazaar, I think in a Guild War defense team is probably the highest CR booster I've seen on a defense team. And like I said, DJ Bazaar already counters her. So I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm really wrong. Maybe I'm really wrong about this, but I feel like the places where you would use her is much less. But the only thing I think that would save her would be her damage mods. If she can be built as a damage dealer and not just this first turn immunity stripper with a CR, I'll call it a CR boost block. I know it's called restrict. I feel restrict is very vague, but the CR boost block, if she can block that, she might be useful, but not as a first turner. I almost feel that if she has high damage mods, I would build her fast, but I wouldn't make her a first turn. I feel like she could be set up for better, but I don't know what that looks like yet. I just feel that that's not the only way. I feel like a lot of Smilegate's demonstration videos is like soup. I mean, I know they're trying to sell the hero. I understand that, but it's super situational. So I feel like it's not that it's not as crazy as people think. The invincibility cast on her, and if she uses her own artifact, she's in stealth, and she won't, like, you know, she won't what do you call it? She won't get hit, quote unquote. She won't get hit, and she'll survive. My question is like why do you need her to survive? That's my main question. Oh, someone did mention this, that if her damage mods are good, you could use Bloodstone on her, and I think that's a legit thing. If you need her to survive, perhaps she can be this off healer, right? So anyways, I don't feel that she's super OP, and I'm a sort of disappointed, in my opinion, that she's a story hero, and her part in the story feels like maybe bigger than Pavel, but like at least as much as Lilius, at least up to the story that I've read so far. I haven't finished reading all the stories, so don't hate me, guys. But I feel like it's weird that she's a limited hero. That is going to be something that I'm going to keep like feeling odd about. Someone made the mention that DN is a limited hero. DN's a story hero, but it's Queen DN, the one that we see. So again, I don't know. Maybe they're just doing this for the hype. Forcing people to pull, and I don't think she has a limited hero kit. That's my issue with it. I don't feel that she has a limited hero kit. Anyways, I think I'm gonna end that there. Let me kind of read the stream chat, just see if any sum up here. Emblem says Charles will 100% strip her buffs on counter. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't. I don't know. Maybe I'm too pessimistic for this one. Hey, I know a lot of people like Cerise. She's a waifu, but I'm not into that. I'm more into the functionality of that hero. In terms of if I'm gonna pull for her, yeah, I'm gonna pull for her because she's a limited. But that's also why I'm kind of disappointed. It's like she doesn't really look exactly like a limited kind of hero. She just looks like a pretty good 5-star hero. Like I would say this. Lilius, I feel Lilius has as much, if not more, impact than Cerise. All right, I've said it. Okay, so I think I'm gonna get all the dislikes now. I feel like Lilius has more of an impact than her. All right, and she's not a limited hero, so I don't get it. But anyways, I'm gonna end this. Hey guys, and we're back. So last night, after I ended my stream and the video recording for my initial thoughts on Cerise, I didn't post the video. And last night we got the data mine on Cerise's damage mods pretty early on, so I wanted to include this in because it's a limited hero, so I may as well like give my full thoughts on it now with all the cards on the table, so to speak. First things first, you see this kind of this table, very badly cropped and put together table of a couple heroes I feel that share Cerise's role. Now, I'm gonna say this right now, that I know that none of them share the exact same roles. I mean, this is the only reason you pull for other heroes, because they have a mixed bag of roles. But I want to compare like a couple of the heroes I feel that can compete with her in different aspects. So first things first is I would say Cerise's S3. That one turn buff duration removal, so to speak. So realistically, first turn immunity stripper, let's put it that way. Again, Cerise has a 122 base speed, so very good to get that roll. So therefore I placed the damage mods for Bazaar, Faithless Lidica, Harado, Sage Baal, and Cezanne. Even Dizzy counts if you consider Violin as a first turn strip. I know people still do that. I've seen like Dizzy into SSB like sort of comp, so punishes you if you don't bring a cleanser pretty much, and you just focus on immunity. And I have said it in the part 1 or the prior recording about the flaw of Cerise's quote-unquote stripping skill, because it's not a dispel skill, it's a one turn buff duration removal skill. It's different, although it works for the first turn immunity strip. So anyways, to compare though, I was impressed with Cerise's S2 damage mods. It's 1.5, so you see on the top right there, 1.5 with a 1 times POW, and the S3 is not bad, 0.9, 1.1. This is why I wanted to compare a couple of these strippers as well, so people don't go like really like, you know, like, whoa, Cerise is crazy, her mods are insane. I will say that the S2 is very strong. Knowing that Cerise does go into invincibility, and if you put on her artifact, she goes into stealth. Depending on what kind of artifact you run her into, she's safe, quote unquote safe, for one turn until you can get the S2 off. So, and again, the problem is Charles. Unless you run her with really high resist or you're really lucky, Charles, if he Elbrises you, you're gonna lose that safety net. Assuming he gets the S1 into the S2 and strips your stealth and your invincibility. But regardless, the S2 is very strong, 1.5, comparable to a lot of single target damage nukers. But if you take a look at the heroes that I've posed here for that first turn strip, Faithless Lidica and Lidica have a 1.4. This is a cleaving skill, 1.4, 1.6. So Lidica's Lidica's S3. Sorry, they're not the strip. The strip is the S2, so the 0.7. So Cerise has better mods there. To follow up though, Lidica and Faithless Lidica have similar power. Again, Cerise is fast, but like Lidica is faster. Bazaar, if you take a look at Bazaar's Molagora, which I don't have displayed on screen right now, if you take a look at Bazaar's like Molagora enhancements, his S3 actually does a lot of damage. It is 0.9, shares the same as Cerise, but the reason why I want to bring this up is because I think with the damage mods, people may start theory crafting, oh, maybe build Cerise as like a damage dealer, you know, with this stripping ability. And I just wanted to show that if people don't really build Bazaar as like a cleave, they might not build Cerise as a cleave. But again, like I said, it is dependent, because Bazaar, you want to get that first turn no matter what because of the CR pushback, and Cerise doesn't have that. So whether or not you want her on first turn is actually quite debatable to me right now. With the 1.5 S2 follow-up after the S3, I think that she can be run at relatively high speed, almost like how people used to do Sage Baal and Cezanne. But of course, that will limit the amount of counter she has, like the amount of use. So I mean, again, in the video example that they showed in the Korean stream, they use it as like an Oxlot, like an anti-Oxlot. If she's not super fast, she won't fulfill that role. If she is super fast, she won't fulfill the damage dealing role. So again, the mods, although I did say in the stream last night that her mods are determining, like for me, whether she's OP or not, and I still don't think she is. Again, look at Gerardo there. You got this strip at the S3, 0.9, 1 times POW. Okay, yes, Cerise gets a bit more. Gerardo is a 3-star, so lower base stats, but Cerise again does not have a lot of attack to go with. Maybe you want to scale crit damage because her attack is so low. She has 27 crit chance. But All in Cezanne is an interesting one as well to look at. Although I have to say, the only reason why I bring him in is because he's that first turn immunity stripper. But I do think it's funny that Cerise does hardcore counter Sage Baal. If she can land the restrict debuff on him, he won't CR boost. So that's kind of interesting. But a 0.85. 0.85 on the cleaving skill, which is the S2, the stripping skill. 1.3 POW. So I mean, like, you're looking at about the similar levels. And again, I bring in Dizzy, although she misses on the S3, but all of her skills technically can quote-unquote strip with Violin. The second aspect I want to bring in these other heroes is also because, one, like Basar, Gerardo, Faithless Lidica, they can bring in different debuffs as well. And I do see that Cerise as a debuffer. She's not a buffer, except of her invincibility buff on the S3. She's not a buffer for the team, but she's more of a debuffer to set up for everyone else. The S2 is 100% stun rate. We cannot overlook that. That is very, very strong to have, especially on Cerise. If you can move her really fast with all her CR manipulation, you can realistically keep opponents stunned, especially in RTA. So yeah, but Dizzy, again, bring her in not just for Violin, but also because of her debuff potential. Again, being a mage and Cerise is a ranger, these mages have Cerise is competing with mages. And I did mention this as well in the part 1, that if Cerise was a mage, she would be absolutely broken, and I would say, like, I would ham for her. But because she's a ranger and limited to the rangered artifacts that we have right now, it's different. And I do believe that they restricted her from being a mage on purpose, because there was high potential that she could have been. I mean, literally, she holds a scepter, but then again, like, I guess Lidica holds a sword and she's a ranger too. So an SSB I want to compare as well. SSB and Dizzy, both limited heroes, both ice heroes. If you take a look at SSB's mods, I mean, it doesn't look high, right? So I mean, 0.7 on the S2, 1 times mod on the S1, 1 times mod on the S3. But yet she's super strong in terms of a damage dealer, right? You could run her with like a 50 effectiveness and she would do her job. And she's just so potent in the arena or in PvP in general. So I just don't, like, I'm trying to be fair in my assessment of Cerise. That's why I'm comparing this stuff for you guys, that I don't think Cerise is bad. But I think we will have to definitely wait and see whether she's OP or not. Currently though, I'm still more convinced that SSB has a more prominent role, but because of Cerise's S2 and S3 combined, the stun on the S2 is really what gets me to think that Cerise might be insanely good. A lot of CR manipulation on her skills, so she might move down and get those stuns off pretty easily. 100% stun is very good. And then I put in Tenebria in this roster right under Cerise here. Though Tenebria, I would say that she has a very, very a much stronger damaging side to her compared to all the other heroes, I would say. Well, I guess SSB, But Tenebria has now, even with the dev buffs, she's even more potent. So putting people to sleep is as good as a stun, except that you could wake them. But Tenebria could put like people to sleep. She has CR manipulation as well. She has defense break, and she has really high damage. Again, she's a Leo mage, so very high attack. So compared to Cerise, which has a 970 base attack, that falls short. But anyways, I just wanted to summarize all of that. With Cerise mods, I think, again, she's a limited. I'm going to be pulling for her, so I'm not going to be saying that no, people shouldn't pull for her. Her artifact's interesting. She's interesting. Definitely worth getting. Whether or not you want a triple S, it has nothing to do with Cerise kit alone, but rather the fact that, you know, her imprints can actually really benefit for the rest of the team. If you see her as a debuff support hero, her imprints actually become a real big benefit. So it might be worth going for a couple Cerise just to get those imprints. But anyways, I'm gonna end that there. That's been a long thought video, combined the two parts. I'm gonna end that there. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.